Anyway, let's watch some Crimson Desert before I have to go. Because people are hyped. People are hyped. And I have kind of been sleeping on this game, not gonna lie. But we're gonna play it tomorrow, as soon as I wake up. Whatever that is.
After what feels like forever, Crimson Desert is finally...
It's true. Like, oh my god. They have been talking about this game forever.
Here. And the big question is it actually good? Does it play like it looks? And is the game fun? Well, first up, a big thank you to VTUBER for providing us with early review access. It's been pretty surreal, to be honest, because we've been covering this game on the channel for over 6 years, all the way back to its...
I just hate the fact that I have to play a freaking warrior, man. Like, Pearl Abyss don't understand how much PTSD some people have, thanks to Black Desert Online. Because warriors are horrendous to fight against. At least they were. During the years I played Black Desert Online.
Initial reveal. So finally getting hands-on time with the finished game has been a long time coming. And when I say hands-on time, I mean a lot of time. This game is massive. We saw a lot of other reviewers saying they weren't sure if they could finish it before the embargo, so me and 26 basically split this one down the middle. I took a slower approach, more like perhaps you will play the game. Exploring the world, doing side content, really getting a feel for its systems and how it plays. Meanwhile, 26 went into full grind mode to push through the main story so we could see everything into the end game, how the story progresses, the pacing and all that kind of stuff. So between the two of us, we have a really solid understanding of the game from both sides. And a big shout out to 26 as well, because finishing this took multiple 16-hour days. This game
16-hour days.
Joke. Also, just for you, there are no story spoilers in this video. We'll be using early gameplay and trailers, so when you jump in fresh, you'll experience things for yourself without a worry here.
That's very kind.
We'll start with
Thank you.
what Crimson Desert actually is for anyone that's unsure or hasn't been following along. At its core, it's an open-world action-adventure RPG. It's on PC and consoles, and honestly, just calling it this doesn't really do it justice. This is one of those games that is pulling in inspiration from everywhere, but somehow ends up feeling like its own unique thing. The easiest way I could describe it is to imagine elements of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, and Breath of the Wild, with The Witcher and Assassin's Creed, and a bit of chaotic GTA energy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't it kind of like Assassin's Creed? I've never played Assassin's Creed, but I've heard about it.
Fantasy setting sprinkled on top. Yes, I know this sounds crazy, like what the heck even is that, but that's what this game is. This game constantly throws in new systems, mechanics, and ideas at you. Even after you've played 20, 30, 40 hours, you're still discovering something you didn't even realize.
I swear to God, if they're gonna force me to try to figure out a lot of puzzles, I'm gonna just cry. I hate puzzles. My brain is not meant to be able to figure out puzzles. I'm dumb as shit. So please, God, no.
While that is exciting, it can be overwhelming at times, especially early on. Now, let's talk about the story, because when it comes to this, it mainly focuses on reuniting the Greymanes early on. This actually ends up
reuniting the what?
Narrative with some genuinely emotional moments. But as you progress, it sort of expands the story into a much larger world threat, bringing in more magical elements and even some unexpected technology. Plus, one thing that stands out in the game has got to be the voice acting. It's one of those things where people are either going to love it or hate it, but personally, we really liked it. The dialogue often feels quite raw and unfiltered. There's a lot of swearing in it, it's very grounded, and honestly, as a Brit, some of the banter just felt natural. Now, that said,
as a Brit, you're smart, don't lie.
The more you play,
I wouldn't say I'm smart.
With the world when you get a better picture of everything. Now, compared to our preview that you may have seen, where the story did feel a little disjointed, the full release version is definitely more coherent. I wouldn't say it's amazing.
Oh no, there's swear words in this game. Oh no, how we would ever manage.
Harder than some of the big spectacle scenes. That said, there are still some amazing set pieces.
As long as there's no nude scenes, we're good, okay? I don't want to get banned.
Like castle sieges that will absolutely
but I
with you
don't think
now,
it's that kind of
is obviously an important
story game.
Of a single player game, This game is very much a game that you will probably be playing for the gameplay, the exploration, and the discovery that is everywhere. The story does support this, but it's not the main reason that you really get that itch to come back. There are some drawbacks though, nothing is really perfect, and part of that is the fact that the story does constantly use this specific helmet that kind of gives you a flashback system to go back to people's memories in a particular area.
That helmet is ugly as hell. I don't want to wear that.
That's alright the first few times, it would be nice if these were proper fleshed out cutscenes and were a bit more involved. On top of that, some quest objectives can be very vague. If you like Elden Ring's style of absolute minimal guidance, then you might enjoy that. But if you prefer a bit more direction...
Oh, guys. We are screwed. Or rather, I am screwed.
...and being told what to do, it can be frustrating. But honestly, because we really like Elden Ring, we didn't really mind it too much. Now, in terms of the length of the game...
I've never played Elden Ring. And I feel like I should make it a goal sometime in the future, if I'm still streaming, to play Elden Ring, because that will be a shit show. That would be such a shit show with how I have 0 patience and 0 brain cells. So that game is just gonna absolutely fuck me. Without consent. So it's gonna be horrendous. It's gonna be a crime.
Story-focused playthrough came in at around 90 hours. And one of the wild things is that even after finishing the game, we are still discovering entirely new areas, even a brand new city, and more. There's stuff in the launch trailer that you may have seen here, which we haven't even experienced after beating the story, so it's kind of insane by just how much side content and awesome things there are outside of the main narrative and the main story bosses.
This is very Black Desert Online,
because this is where the game really shines. Combat is honestly one of the strongest
with the combat and how it looks.
Everything you've seen in the trailers is real. You've got these crazy combos.
If I'm still streaming, brother. Well, you never know. You never know.
Each node has multiple upgrade options that unlock new moves and abilities.
Hoping for the best, expecting the worst.
Very satisfying. But what keeps it fresh is the fact that you can switch characters and they each have their own playstyle, different weapons, their own skill tree and gear. So even after playing dozens and dozens of hours, you're still learning new things. That said, it's not perfect though. For example, each character has their own skill tree to learn and unlock. If you do like playing the different characters, you have to have all of their equipment in your inventory and switch things in out, and it's just not as streamlined as it could be. Also, we were told in the preview that
I never finished it, but someone who hasn't really been interested in Souls-likes, I had a good time. Oh, really? Well, that's nice to hear.
Skills would transfer between characters, but in our experience from playing the game, that doesn't seem to be the case. So it feels like you're always chasing after skill points. Now let's touch on puzzles, because this is also a big part of the experience.
No.
Some of them...
No, not puzzles. I'm gonna have a headache playing this. I already know.
Are genuinely great and are really rewarding to figure out, especially if you enjoy that sense of discovery and
I do not
on your own. But others can be very frustrating, especially when they're completely unguided and you're just hard stuck. So that aspect of the game will come down to what type of player you are. But then there's just the sheer amount of things you can do in this game. You can take on bounties where you literally hunt someone down, tackle them, beat them up, hog-tie them.
That sounds like more fun.
Horse and take them all the way back to prison. Then you can just help villagers, dynamic events out in the world where you can free people that are being attacked by bandits, or just go full chaos and steal things, pickpocket people, wagons to sell, even steal people's
punch people and steal things.
The freedom here is honestly incredible. The gear system also goes pretty deep with armor, weapons, upgrades, consumables, socketable, abyss cores, and more. But early on, the gear progression does feel very underwhelming. Most items you get early feel like side grades rather than upgrades, and it's not really until later in the game that you start finding genuinely exciting gear. Also, the controls are something that takes some time to get used to. The game does a good job at gradually teaching you all of the things you can do, but there's a lot going on, and a lot of it requires multiple button combinations and inputs, especially on controller, so it can be a bit tricky trying to figure it all out. But once it clicks, it feels really good, and it's the same for mouse and keyboard. I think the game actually plays better on mouse and keyboard, but it's a very strange setup and layout to learn.
What is this green woman? Why is she just green? I think it's the orb.
I know a lot of people are excited about riding the dragon. And honestly, this part of the game is a bit of a mixed bag. When it works, it's awesome, but actually getting on the dragon can be weirdly clunky, and you often need to use a workaround to mount it, which is quite annoying.
What?
On the flip side, the mech sections of the game actually work really well, so that was
You can have
fun.
a mech.
As
What
for
the
the
hell?
bosses, however, there's a huge variety in them, and they can be seriously challenging. We actually enjoyed this, but they can feel a bit unbalanced at times. Some moments felt borderline unfair in those boss fights, especially in our review build, where you could get revived and instantly just killed again. This, however, is getting patched in the day 1 patch, so pretty good for you guys. Again, some bosses were incredible and felt incredible, and others just not so much. It was very inconsistent, and interestingly, we actually found some of the earlier bosses were harder than the later ones, so the pacing was a bit weird with them too. Now let's talk about the world, because this is where Crimson Desert also stands out. It is massive, like genuinely overwhelming in its scale. It's also packed with things to do.
It is
Quests,
massive.
secrets, vendors, enemies, wildlife,
She never
resources.
said.
It just keeps going as you explore. Now, as you know, 2.6 mostly focused on finishing the story, and well, he only uncovered about 60% of the map. Meanwhile, I've been taking my time, and I haven't even cleared the first few regions properly. It's just so big. It's easily one of the most impressive open worlds I've played in, and it just looks great too. The world also feels alive. There's dynamic weather, day-night cycles, NPCs walking around, they react to you. You can go into almost any building in the game. The level of immersion is genuinely impressive. Traversal is also varied. You can ride your horse, you can run around, there's other mounts, you can fast travel, there are sky islands.
There are other mounts?
Off and glide, you can climb up cliffs. There's even things like hot air balloons if you unlock them. It is one of those game worlds where everything just surprises you. On top of that, there's interactions with all kinds of things in the environment. You can set things on fire, punch trees over, launch yourself into the air, swing around. It's just chaos in the best way once you really get to grips with all of the systems going on.
But can you run on water? Like in Where Winds Meet. We have to go back to Where Winds Meet. The new area looks amazing.
Now let's touch on the technical side of things, because we played on PC and overall the performance was solid. I will put our PC specs down below, and I did play on 2 different resolutions, 2K and 4K. At 2K, I was always comfortably above 60 frames per second. And at 4K, it held up pretty well too. I was never really lower than 50 frames, often 60 or higher. If you're curious about console performance, well, we didn't get console codes.
We'll probably have to stay at 2K though, since I'm streaming, if not lower.
Gameplay in it, and I thought it looked pretty good on there too, to be honest. That said, we did experience a few crashes, which, while annoying, considering the fact that we've got well over 100 hours into the game, it wasn't too bad. And the day 1 patch also addresses that these things should be fixed, so we'll have to wait and see. But visually, the game looks incredible, especially on the higher end settings with things like path tracing. The difference is night and day. It's just a game that looks really good. The main issue, though, is bugs. Individually, a lot of the bugs in the game are small, but there are a lot of them and they add up. Some of them are minor things, other things are a bit more serious, like quest bugs that block progression, and it makes it feel like the game could have used a bit more time.
They will be very
to
quick with
these
patching
things,
when it launches.
In the second half of the game, where it almost feels like the game is degrading a bit as you get near the finish line. A lot of bugs are addressed in the day 1 patch, but as said, the further in the game you get, the more sort of things pop up that start to niggle at you. Music-wise, though, it's great. There's a lot of Witcher-like music, especially during the boss fights when everything ramps up. It really elevates the atmosphere, so I am a big fan of the music in this one too. So overall, where does this leave us at? Well, Crimson Desert is an incredible game. It's massive, it's ambitious, and it does things that genuinely feel new and exciting. This is honestly the kind of game that people are going to be playing for months. But at the same time, it can be a bit rough around the edges. There are a lot of smaller issues, but there's a lot of them, and they do add up. Basically, in one moment, you'll be having an amazing time and thinking this is one of the best games you've
sounds
ever
like
played.
it's going to be
And
frustrating.
then in the next moment, you're going to be completely frustrated
at some
with something
points,
that pops up. So it's got a little bit of a weird mix of absolute
I feel like the puzzles are probably the thing that's going to tilt me to shite.
Minor issue for some people,
tilt me to another dimension, because they always do. They always do.
Behind certain side content and quest
I feel like when I try to solve a
off,
puzzle, I feel like I'm getting bullied.
Does take a while to get used to. And as said before, some puzzles can just hard stop your progress.
It's just,
figure them out.
it's
But
horrendous.
despite all of that, you're going to have that itch to keep on playing. Because underneath those issues, there's a genuinely fantastic game here. Honestly, it's exceeded our expectations in terms of its scale, its depth, and just how much you can do and have fun.
Nice
but it
song.
does feel like it needed a little bit more polish. And on that point, if you compare it to other games like ones we've reviewed here on the channel, like Dragon's Dogma 2 or Monster Hunter Wilds more recently, they both launched with major issues, which we expressed in our review. And that was initially met with criticism until the game came out and people got to try it and see that yes, those things were in the game and were a problem. In Dragon's Dogma 2, this came down to the actual difficulty and the pacing of the story, as well as the lack of enemy variety, which were things we commented on. In Monster Hunter Wilds, it came down to the performance issues, as well as the streamlining being overdone, and the general lack of
I love
that as well.
I loved Monster Hunter Wilds.
Issues have since been fixed.
But I've heard a lot of people have performance issues, and I can't remember having that. Or maybe I just didn't care because I was so obsessed with the game at the time. I don't know.
But it did launch like that. And then if you look at this game, while it does have the various issues we've commented on, the overall experience isn't as impacted by them as other games that had launch struggles. So we actually think even casual.
They made some decent progress on PC performance. Oh, that's nice.
Despite the
nice.
multitude of those lesser nitpicking issues. So we do have to say, yes, the game is extremely overhyped online. But honestly, from everything we've experienced,
it's overhyped.
Story, exploring the world, doing side things, uncovering secrets and puzzles and everything else, it actually lives up to it. And that's because at the core of this game, the majority of it is just spectacular. And hey, I'm sure all
we can do horse racing. Let's go. We're gonna win every horse race.
Major things
Mark my words.
But what do you guys think? Are you going to be picking up Crimson Desert? Do tell us down below and subscribe because we will have more coming your way soon on Crimson Desert. So lock in down below and I'll see you in the next one. Here at Arix Gaming,
thank you.
Friends who love to play games.
That does look pretty nice, except for the puzzles. I will never like the puzzles. Freak the puzzles. Freak them.